Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Hi, my name is Brooke, and on my channel, I like to talk about personal finances and do lifestyle vlogs. So if that's interesting to you, please make sure to subscribe. We are almost at 600 subscribers, and that is so awesome. So thank you for sharing my content. And today we are doing another fun Finance Friday video. We are going to talk about paying off low interest loans or investing that. So my husband and I, we recently moved, and because of that, we are selling our old house. And after the sale of our old house, we will make a pretty good lump sum amount of money. And so we've been going back and forth on what we want to do with the money that we make from the sale of the house. Some of it we are going to be putting into our high yield savings account as our home emergency fund. There are some things in the house that are a little bit older that we will probably need to replace in the next 2 to 3 years. That includes the HVAC and the carpet and stuff like that. So there will be a good amount of that money that will go towards that. However, we will also have some more money on top of that that we can use for other things. And so one of the things that we've been talking about is whether or not to just go ahead and pay off my husband's student loans. Now, we have been paying on my husband's student loans fairly aggressively for the past 2.5 years since we got married. When we first started this journey of paying off his student loans aggressively, he'd already paid off one of the loans by himself, and he had about $55,000 of student loans left between his undergrad and his graduate degree. So, when we got married, that was when we really decided that we would combine our incomes and start paying off his student loans aggressively. And within the first year of our marriage, we did that. Then our financial goals shifted and we wanted to start saving for the down payment on this new house. So we did stop paying as aggressively on the student loans and just started paying the minimums plus a little bit of interest towards his student loans to continue to make some headway on it, but not as fast as we were going at the beginning. And so now where we're at is, as of today, we have about $19,900 left in student loans. And so as you can see, we have paid off a good chunk. We've paid off over $30,000 of his student loans. And so we're really getting to the very end of this payoff journey for his student loans. The interesting thing about it is that the student loans that he has left are actually rather low interest. So I think the highest interest one right now is at like a 4.8%. So pretty low in terms of, if you think about like the Money Guy show talking about paying down low interest rates should be like one of the later steps. And really you need to focus on tackling that high interest debt. But for me, with how things are going with we're selling our house, and based on the amount of money that we could make on the sale of our home, we will have the ability to pay it off in full when we sell the house. So I wanted to run a few scenarios and talk through them with you all so that you could understand what it means when you are paying off low interest loans and what we ultimately decided going with. So let's hop over to my little Canva presentation that I made because I took some screenshots of different things so that we can walk through the different options. All right, so let's talk about our first option here. So the first option would be to go back to just paying the minimums and then lump sum investing that money that we were going to set aside to pay off the loans into the S&P 500 or something that is a well-diversified index fund and let that grow. So what I did here was I took that amount of money that we needed to lump sum pay it off, which we wouldn't be able to pay it off till next month. So I kind of went off of how much the balance should be next month after we made our payments this month. So that was about $19,600 that we would do in a lump sum. And if we decided to just go ahead and stop paying extra on the loans and not pay and just pay the minimums, that actually meant that it would take us about 5 years and 6 months to pay off the rest of the loans, and our total interest paid would be $2,264.53. So because again, they're pretty low loans, we don't have that much interest that we would be paying off, but it's still a little bit over $2,000 of interest. So if we took a lump sum contribution, and I just did after 5.5 years, because I'm just saying like, what would it be? What would this amount be after the end of the time period that it would take for us to pay them off? And just with a baseline 7% return rate, which is a pretty good return rate from the stock market, and not adding any additional contributions, I just wanted to see what this number could build to by the end of the 5.5 years. And what this could potentially turn into is $28,435.89, which means that on a starting amount of $19,600, we would be making $8,835.89 in interest. If you took the payment that we would have to ultimately make $22,220.95, that would leave us with about making $6,000. And so that was one of the scenarios that I presented to my husband. And we're like, we're still paying a little bit towards the interest that's accruing every month, because the student loans that my husband has, they accrue interest daily. And so we've been paying off a little bit extra on top of the minimums to go ahead and try and knock out that daily interest that accrues throughout the month. So that is my next option. My next option was to continue to pay the minimums and the interest, and then lump sum invest. Again, this $19,600. Now, the reason why this time is different is because if we just stuck to what we're doing right now, which is paying $419 per month towards his student loans, it would take us about 52 months to go ahead and pay that off. So that would be 4 years and 4 months. And so that's about 4.3 years. And so then I took the number again, and I also took how much we would make at the end of that period. And at the end of that period, if we invested it and got a return rate of 7%, then we could be looking at a balance of $26,277.01. And our total interest would be $6,677.01. Now, over the course of the 4 years and 4 months, we would pay a total of $21,739.03 to his student loans, which means that from this one, we would make about $5,000 on top of it if we just went ahead and paid off the student loans in the 4 years and 4 months, and then lump sum invested the $19,000 upfront. And in this scenario, we would be paying interest of $1,782.61. So a little bit less interest than the first option, I think about $400 less, but not too crazy. After I presented this option, what would happen if we went ahead and paid off the student loans, and then we invested the amount that we've been putting towards the student loans each month? So it would be dollar cost averaging instead of doing a lump sum investment. So I ran those numbers, and that is what this one is showing. So if we did option 3 of paying them off and then dollar cost averaging over, I decided to do 4.3 years because I wanted to put option 2 and option 3 head to head. This is what happened. So if we did this, we would pay a total of $20,088.17 towards my husband's student loans. And the total interest that we would pay would be $131.75. So between option 2 and option 3, we are saving a guaranteed amount because we're saving all of that interest, like almost $1,500 saved in interest, which I think is really good. And the interesting piece about this is, like, if we took the amount of money that we are putting towards his student loans right now, each month, $418.15, and we went ahead and put that into the S&P 500 for the next 4 years and 4 months, then what would that grow to? It really shocked me, like, what the end balance was. And the end balance would be $25,193.66. And if you took away the amount that we're paying up front of $20,088.17 from that end balance, that means that we would be making about $5,000. So, we're still getting less returns each time from the market because we're not investing for as long, or we're not investing as much. However, the delta between option 2 and option 3, if you take in the savings of interest, was very interesting because you're saving about $1,500 in interest on this option. If you pay it off in full, overall that we would be making would be about $1,000, but we would be debt free. And so I just wanted to do a side-by-side comparison chart for this, and this is what we did. So if we look at option number 1, the time length to pay off the student loans would be another 5 years and 6 months. Our total payments would be $22,220.95. Our interest paid would be $2,264.53. And if we lump sum invested that over 5 years and 6 months, we would end our balance at $28,435.29. And if we took the end investment balance minus the total payments that we would make about $6,200. If we did option 2, which is paying the minimum and interest, which is what we do now, and then lump sum investing the $19,600, we would pay off the student loans in 4 years and 4 months. And then our total payments would be $21,739.03. Our interest paid would be $1,782.61. And our interest saved would only be $481.92. So not as much of interest saving. And then our end investment balance could be $26,277.01. And if you take that number minus the total payments of $21,700, you get about $5,500. So, we're making a little bit less, and we're not saving that much in interest. Finally, the last option of paying in full and then dollar cost averaging investing that $418 for the next 4 years and 4 months means that our total payments would be, because we wouldn't do this till next month, would be $20,088.17. The interest paid that we would do for the rest of his loans would be $131.75, which means if we did this, we would save $2,132.78 in interest, and our end investment balance could be $25,193.66. And if you take that from our total payments of $20,088, it means we would be making about $5,000. So we would be making basically about the same amount between option 2 and option 3, but we would be saving a substantial amount in interest from if we just paid the minimum. Now, again, if we just went ahead and paid the minimum and then did lump sum investing of that $19,600, our end investment balances is going to be the highest. It is the longest amount. But if you think about how much we're making in total payments, the delta between what the end investment balances and the total payments is actually relatively small. It's about $1,000 spread between the 3 of these options. And so ultimately, what my husband and I decided is that we would like to go ahead and pay these student loans off. Once we sell our old home and get the profit from the sale of our old home, we are going to pay off my husband's student loans in full. And that would be so exciting because it means that we would be able to hit one of the biggest financial goals that I wanted to originally have when we first got married 2.5 years ago, which was to be debt free by 30, other than our mortgage. And that would achieve that, which I think is so crazy about this. And we would still have a good amount in our investment accounts that, we can, after 4 years and 4 months, we would have that. And, even with our total payments, we would still be ahead by $5,000 in the next 4 years. And that would just be the same for option 2 as well. But we would be paying substantially less in interest on his loans. So, we're getting guaranteed returns. If the end investment balance is what it is after 4.5 years, I cannot time the market. None of us can time the market. So I don't know if that's actually going to be how it would play out. But if we're conservative and we could get that return because we put it into a low cost index fund like that, then, we would come out pretty good. We would come out $5,000 ahead of if we just didn't do anything with that money. We didn't invest it and we just, spent that money right now. I just think that that's like so interesting to look at from a different lens and to see what that money can do for you if you want a guaranteed return, which is paying off debt, or if you want to do lump sum investing. Usually lump sum investing does win out in the end. But dollar cost averaging does really good as well. And for me, dollar cost averaging allows you to build that muscle of investing, even just like $400 a month, as you can see, over 4 years with a 7% return, which is pretty average for what the stock market returns. You can turn that into $25,000 even in just 4 years. It seems like a small amount, but it can turn into so much more if you just allow yourself to continue to be disciplined. Additionally, if we decided to pay it off in full, we would be student loan debt free. And then we were unable to dollar cost average and invest that $400 per month for some reason, then that would be okay because we freed up our cash flow. We're not having a bill that is required to be paid each month. That gives us a lot of flexibility in our budget. So for us, that is what we ultimately decided on. But I really enjoyed running these numbers by my husband and letting him see and understand what I think about when I look at these numbers. And I think that we are making a good decision for the both of us and what we want to do over the next few years of our life. So let me know down in the comments below if you have any student loans. What is your strategy for paying them off? Are you waiting to do public service loan forgiveness? Are you doing income-based repayment plans? What is your plan? It's okay to have student loans. That's totally fine. And depending on, the interest rate and where you are in your life stage, you have different options for you. And I just wanted to present the options that we had and how those numbers could play out for us if we did them in different ways. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, y'all.